We are live. All right. Adrian Reid was good.
Was good.
Another show. So, want to start it off with the Red Wings. So, the Red Wings, they did play their final home game of the season last night, the LCA. They did beat Dallas. They got 2 games left of the season. They are eliminated from the playoffs. So, 6 years Stevie Y, 6 years no playoffs. So, Reid, how hot is Stevie Y's seat going in the next season? And is that seat burning right now at this moment?
Yeah, I think we talked about this last 2 weeks ago when we were doing this. I talked to you guys about it before. I honestly think he just has a blank contract. I don't think his seat's incredibly hot. I think it's probably like, if I had to guess, it's probably like a 1 on the seat heater measure. You know, when you go in your car, you got the 3 levels, whatever it is. It's probably a 1, I would say, just the beginning. I'm sure they're probably saying, hey, listen, 2 years in a row, we just missed the playoffs by a few points. Like, if you don't get this done in the next couple of years, I think that we're going to have a talk about either, you going into a different position, which I think will happen. I don't think that he'll get fired. I think that they might offer him a different position unless he wants to go somewhere else and be a GM. If not, I think he'll just stick around and do like a Dwayne Casey job, like a player personnel, like all the other retired guys from the 90s are doing. I don't think his seat's incredibly hot, honestly. A lot of his draft picks came up this last year, and they had 2 more defensemen. Actually, I think one's not a defenseman. One might be a forward, but they have Axel Sandin Pellikka, who's like the top prospect that they have. He's a defenseman. He's a smaller defenseman. He's like 5'11", but he's kind of like a transition defenseman where he can score a lot. And then they have I have to look this guy's name up because I can never remember how to say it. Nygaard is his last name. Rizdakis Nygaard or something like that. He was drafted 2 years ago, I think. I think it was 2 years ago. But either way, those guys both got called up to Grand Rapids next year. If they play well, maybe they'll get called up. Maybe we'll see Kosa next year. I would assume he has to be close to being ready because, he got called up this year but didn't play a game, and you can't roll through with Peter Mrazek. The thing that I hate is Cam Talbot played well at the end of the season, and maybe they'll maybe it was garbage time minutes, but maybe they'll think it's some pitcher that the Tigers would sign after he pitched a few good innings in the end of the season a while back. So I just think that his seat's not hot, and I think that he's waiting for his draft picks to come up. And I think now he's kind of doing a rush out of his draft picks, and the guys who are he would probably like them to sit one more year, but I think he's going to rush and get about 2 or 3 guys next season that are going to be on this roster.
Yeah, I'm right there with Reid. I think it should be hotter. I think it should be a 9 or 10. That's just me personally because we're just saying it's a name. If Stevie Y was not him, it was a random guy named John Robinson, he'd be out the door. But just because he's Stevie Y and he's a legend, fans and the front office cannot separate that. So I think it has to be make or break. I feel like it was make or break with his last 2 years. There needs to be huge moves this offseason. Will it happen? We'll see. I have no faith in him. He showed me nothing in the 6 years he's been here. His franchise has been a complete form of mediocrity. They haven't been good in the last 10 or 12 years, and this is one of the preeminent franchises in the NHL. So it's just sad, man, that people are just settling because he's Stevie Y. Like I said, if he was a different guy, it'd be different. But he's not on the hot seat, but he should be at that. But the Red Wings have a lot of work to do. No reason they shouldn't be in the playoffs, man. So for all the people who are giving him credit and backing it up and saying he needs time, no. Are you going to be saying the same thing next season? We'll see. But like I said, major upgrades need to be done to this roster. Get some of these young guys up and see what can happen. But have to be aggressive. Half the league makes the playoffs, and they cannot make the playoffs. It's unacceptable, man. But that's just my take on it. So
I think I saw something that says in the last 10 years, only 2 teams haven't made the playoffs. It was the Red Wings and the Buffalo Sabres. So maybe it might have been longer than that, but it was at least 10 years. Axel Sandin Pellikka and Michael Brandseg Nygaard is the other kid's name. Those are guys that are joining the Griffins. I just couldn't remember his name. Both were in the Swedish Hockey League. Both cleared to come here. They'll join the Wings, this offseason. So
we'll see what moves they make this offseason. This is a make or break year going into the season for Stevie Y. Sure, like you said, close. It's time for him to come up at goalie. We see what he does in free agency, and I think this season is hot for Stevie Y going into the season. So we'll see how everything unfolds for him. All right, so I did want to get into this Nico Imaliava situation. So Nico Imaliava was the quarterback of Tennessee Volunteers. He was scheduled to make $2.4 million in NIL this upcoming season. He held out, said he wanted $4 million. Tennessee didn't want to give it to him. They cut him. He's back in the portal. So, Adrian, do you see Nico getting this $4 million in the portal, or do you think this is the time for the NCAA to use their leverage and say that they have gained back control of the players and everything that's going on right now?
I think, at this point, the NCAA has completely lost control. They kind of went off the rails once they instituted NIL with the summer of 2021. We talked about it kind of being guardrails, which, hey, people are bashing Nico and saying what a bad kid he is, but I don't think it's him. I also think as a kid being 19 years old, you get a lot of input from everybody in your camp. You're an adult with a kid at the same time too, so you're probably getting a lot of bad advice. And like I told you guys, we talked about this earlier in the week last week when I sent it to you guys in the group chat. It just amazes me. He's making $2.2 million, and he had a mediocre season last year. And Dylan Sampson was the one who really carried that team in some of these big games. He didn't play well. They're compensating you pretty well. You feel like somebody out there is going to give you some more money. Hey, so be it. So I think it's at a point where I'm happy for both sides. Hey, he's allowed to do what he's allowed to do, but good for Tennessee for standing their ground, for Josh Heupel saying, hey, I'm putting my foot in the sand, I'm drawing the line and saying, hey, if you don't like it, get out. And I think a lot of more coaches are going to follow that suit. You've seen guys play good in the spring game, and they'll go in the office and demand another $100,000 on top of what they're already getting paid for, man. It's crazy, man. We call it NIL, but it's really pay to play. Unfortunately, this situation has probably been brewing at other schools as well, but this is just the first case where a guy has actually done it. He's sat out, and the coach said, get out, and the university said enough is enough. And, I applaud both sides. I think now the coaches will be way more equipped to stand their ground. Now that Josh Heupel's done it, you'll see other schools do it if kids go along these lines. But we talked about this before, and I don't want to get into the specifics because it's really complicated. But with the fact that this house settlement is supposed to be coming soon with the revenues, and every school will be able to divvy out the same amount of money, I think all these kids are trying to take that last-ditch effort to kind of maximize their value and get as much money as possible. But not a good look for both sides. Want to see Nico there to see if he could elevate his game. He was well on his way to being the first-round draft pick at Tennessee, out of Tennessee next season going to the draft if he had a really good season. And Tennessee has a good program, so he's definitely going to go to a Power 4 school that's not as good as Tennessee is. And it's a crazy situation, man. And I just think it's bad for the NCAA, but like I said, they already lost the throw a long, long time ago, and there's not much they can really do because they didn't put the guardrails up in the first place. But if the coaches, like I said, stand their ground and know what it was, it will come back down. And I think this is the first sign that things are going to kind of start to break even now. We're going to stop hitting this crazy threshold, these crazy numbers that some of these guys, are demanding. So go ahead, Reid.
Yeah, Nico, I'm gonna leave you. He definitely left him. He's gone. Now listen, I say all this stuff, and I said, and Raaj, you said the other day, these kids should be able to get their money, which I agree with. I was all on board with NIL and these kids getting their bags and doing whatever they have to do. I think it's perfectly fine. Like you said, schools are making a bunch of money off these kids, a bunch of revenue off these kids. It's perfectly fine. The thing that I don't agree with that he did is, one, his dad, I believe, is his management, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think, but sometimes it can muddy the waters where his dad might be looking at him as, okay, this kid's going to get paid. I'm obviously can get part of that. Let me see if I can get him more money so we can have more money, which is, again, a fine thing. But you have to toe a fine line of having respect for the team that gave you the opportunity to get that. Obviously, your skill got you to that, but the team is the one taking the chance on you. And like Adrian said, he didn't have a great season. He played horribly in the playoffs. I think he went for like 13 for 27, 141 yards, and not a single touchdown in the playoff game that he was in. So there's talks of him sitting out the playoff game because these kids didn't sign on to play more than these games, which, again, we all agree nobody wanted the college football playoff extension, I don't think. At least I didn't. I think it's kind of dumb. I think what they had before was fine. But it gives kids more chances to, potentially have not a great season and come in and win a championship. All that being said, yes, I think he's going to go to another school that will probably pay him, but he's not. I don't think he's going to go anywhere that's going to give him the $4 million. Like Bryce Underwood got the $4 million going to Michigan because Michigan has a donor that is like top 10 richest people in the world, I believe, and his girlfriend or whatever she was said she wanted it. And so, like, another thing too is, I know Bryce isn't the topic of discussion, but what happens when maybe Bryce? What if Jaden Davis starts over Bryce and he's not there, he's unhappy, he can go somewhere else. He can say, I'm leaving. You guys didn't guarantee me this $4 million. So it's just that kind of like weird, hazy part of the water where like these kids, they have the freedom to do that what they want, to go to the transfer portal. I just think that the money is really stinking up the whole thing of college sports and college football and basketball. Basketball hasn't been so bad, but you could see it change. But football obviously is monster in this country, so it's just these kids are getting paid and they think that they should be paid more. Or maybe like Adrian said, maybe they have somebody on their team that thinks they should get paid more. Like, dude, we were 19 years old at one point, 20 years old at one point. Like $2.4 million is life-changing money. Not only that, like you're getting $2.4 million with NIL, and it's every year. And on top of that, you can start getting, endorsements during your college time. And then not only that, prove that you're that first-round pick. Prove that you're that top 3 pick that people think Nico could be, and you're going to be getting paid way more than what you would be doing with the NIL money. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you're being too greedy too fast. Show teams that you're willing to stick with them, and even if you're getting paid $2.4 million, what's $2 more million going to do for you? You can buy a nicer car. Like, you can still get your family nice houses with $2.4 million. You can still take care of your family, like your close family members. Like, let's just pump the brakes on how much you think you should be getting paid. And on top of all that, think of being a quarterback and you're taking $4 million of the NIL money. I don't know how much you're willing to how much. Well, there's no limit on how much they could spend, right, at each team.
Not right now, not until the settlement is approved.
Well, then I guess that's a moot point, what I was going to say. But it's like, when it comes to that, you're going to be taking money away from other recruits you could possibly get that need to get paid. So, again, I'm not mad at the kid for wanting more money. I'm just more upset that he said, I'm going to sit out of this. And now you're going into a work situation, which could hurt you and detriment your career down the road. That's the thing that annoys me the most about this whole NIL and transfer portal thing, is that these kids now are just not loyal to basically one team, or even the team that they go to next. They could potentially move on from there when they're not happy or not getting paid enough. So I just think it comes down to a sense of integrity at the end of the day, more than the money that you're going to get in your pocket. Because if you're that good, Nico, you're going to be drafted and you're going to make your money in the league, and you're going to make money off of endorsements.
I mean, yeah, you couldn't have said it any better. Like I said, I think it's a lot. These kids are getting bad advice too. And NIL initially, when it came about, it was for all these guys to get paid, but it really was for the proven guys already, like the guys that are sophomore, junior, seniors, who really get that money, and then to let these freshmen or the younger guys, up and coming guys, to earn that, which is, hey, but now these guys come out of high school, these 5-star guys, they feel so entitled, but a lot of guys work out, but then there's guys who come in and they crash and burn. So we don't get to talk about that enough. Like we talked about, we're all for the kids getting their money and doing what they need to do, but at the end of the day, there has to be levels to it, man, and there's not levels to it at all. So a kid comes in, he's a 5-star guy, he thinks he deserves $3 million. You haven't even played a snap of college football yet, so it's a crazy thing. But hopefully this revenue thing can come into play, and every school, all the power conferences, will get the same amount of money, from a Illinois to a Clemson to a Florida State to a UCF. Cal. Yeah, so it'll be a little more even. So I also think it hurts a lot of the guys in high school too, who are recruits, who are like a high 3-star kid or a high 4-star kid, because portal just doesn't, man. We kind of just need to get a little bit of order to get it back to respectability, and then get a little self-control. Because now it's like I said, it's the Wild Wild West, man. And this is just the first domino to fall. And like you said, like Reid said earlier, Josh Pate on his college football show was saying how guys during the playoff were walking in the coach's office asking for more money during the playoff. Can you imagine we have a situation where a guy says the night before a playoff game, hey, I need 40,000 more, or I'm not playing in the semifinal. You know how crazy it'd be. It wouldn't surprise me, but at the rate we're going, until we can stop this or figure it out, nothing at this point would surprise me. I just think we need to get it better because, guys, this is all a sport we love, and it's just turning into just nonsense and garbage. A lot of this stuff we are talking about is more off the field than what's actually on the field. And my last point: if you are as good as you think you are, go to university, earn your stripes, get your money, and get to the league if you're that good. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. I think he went about it the wrong way. He could have got more money if he would have just balled out this season and did what he needed to do on the field.
Absolutely.
The money would have came. Money would have came for sure. All right, let me see.
Damn, I didn't know it was Jackie Robinson Day in the MLB. Hell yeah.
Bartholomew says parents don't help the situation. They're in a lot of these kids' ears.
Yeah, because they see a lot of the kids as cash cows.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I mean, a sad way to look at it too. Like you look at these kids, and some of these parents are like, man, I'm gonna try and use this kid for all that I can. I mean, you know, I took care of him all his life. I should get my money too, which is kind of a sad way of looking at it, but a lot of parents do it, unfortunately. You know.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You never know what's going on behind the scenes as well. All right, so yeah, some NFL draft in here. So Travis Hunter told CBS Sports today that if he can't play both sides of the ball, he's pretty much going to quit football. He's adamant on playing both sides of the football. So Reid, how do you feel about this? And what side do you think Travis Hunter's going to be more effective on the league, defense or offense?
I mean, listen, I watched a lot of Travis Hunter again. My nephew goes to CU Boulder. He's they're my whole sister side of the family, big Buffs fans, love Prime, love Travis. So I'm not like a hater on him by any means. I think Travis Hunter is a great athlete. I think he's a very good player. I think he'd probably be utilized more and probably play better in this day's NFL as an offensive side of the ball, as a wide receiver, as a gadget type guy, slot type guy, because I think he is talented as a wide receiver. And I think he's obviously very shifty, very fast. So I would say he plays the offensive side of the ball the best. I had this discussion with my friends today. I mean, if he plans on coming in there and he wants, I mean, he's not playing every snap. He's not playing both sides of the ball every snap like he did in college. That's not feasible. It's never been done, and I don't think it's ever going to be done. The game is too hard. It's too taxing on the body. Now, my friend made a point. Maybe he wants to play, 70% offense, 30% defense. Like, okay, maybe, yeah, I could see that maybe, but you have to do, or if he does it the other way, 70% defense, 30% offense, you're doing special packages, and teams are going to know once Travis Hunter is out there on offense, special packages, you're going to have a guy designated to Travis Hunter, and you're probably going to, keep him locked down. I don't think it's going to be anything that's feasible for him. I mean, if he wants to play defense, if he wants to do majority offense, wide receiver, again, I think it's the smartest route. And then when he goes on defense, I mean, all he has to do is be a corner. Not saying that's easy, but he has to just be a corner. You're not really going to game plan for him unless you're doing pick plays or something like that to try and take him out of the game. But I don't think in the NFL he's going to be a Sauce Gardner. I don't think he's going to be as good as Will Johnson as a corner. The guy I like is Revel out of Eastern Carolina University. I think that those two guys are both going to be better cornerbacks than Travis Hunter will be in the league. Just because Travis Hunter is kind of smaller and he's got a smaller frame, those guys are bigger corners. I just think they'll be able to be more physical as a corner. If you watched him play against that guy from Stanford, I can't remember his name because it's always so long, but he absolutely bodied him. He's a bigger wide receiver. If you have to go up against a Justin Jefferson or a DK or an AJ Brown, I don't think any of those guys are going to have trouble with Travis Hunter, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. I'm by no means any expert. That's just what I feel when I've seen cornerbacks play before. So I think if he does play, he's going to be, if he plays full cornerback, he'll probably be a cornerback too. I don't think he's ever going to be a standout corner. I think he should just play wide receiver. I think he'll excel the most there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think his best bet if he wants to be a superstar in the league is to mainly play wide receiver. I think there's more promise for him there. Corner, yeah, he can be good. He can come in situational packages and play. I think whoever drafts him is going to let him do it because they want to test this out and see if it can be done. And Travis is going to do his best to prove all the doubters wrong, but I think he can be a great slot receiver. Super fantastic. I think whatever team he plays for is going to get him a lot of reps, a lot of touches. But I would mainly test him out at receiver and go from there because he's a special talent, no doubt about that. But doing what he did in college, I just don't see him doing it to that level in the NFL. I think he's going to have to eventually choose to pick one side of the ball. The NFL is too long of a season. Guys are much more physical. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. That's why it's 1% of the 1%. But I'm rooting for him to pull it off. But he's going to be a top 4 draft pick, no doubt about it. Just going to depend on the situation where he goes and how they utilize him. But I think he's going to be successful regardless. But to that level, we don't know yet.
Like, the thing I'll say is, like, the 2 dream scenarios for Travis Hunter to play is the dream scenario where he should play and he should want to play is the Patriots, because I think playing with Drake May as wide receiver, and then you're basically the wide receiver 1 there. And then if you want to check into defensive packages, they already have Christian Gonzalez as their number 1, and they just signed Carlton Davis. So you can have him be your cornerback number 3. I think that would be the ultimate situation for Travis Hunter, because you can be that guy on offense, and you have the ability to check into those cornerback side of the game for the Patriots. I think the Giants would be fine too, because you also would be another starting wide receiver across from Malik Neighbors. You could be their slot guy. And then your corner situation, the Giants aren't great in the corner situation, but they have a good pass rush. Their defensive line is solid. So I think that he could be good in that sense, because he wouldn't have to be out there. Again, if you want to put him in special packages as a cornerback 2, they have a good enough pass rush and good enough defensive line to get to the cornerback where he's not going to be out there for running around for 5 seconds covering a guy. So I think those 2 teams are the dream scenario. I wouldn't want playing Cleveland, because I just think Cleveland's a mess. You don't really have a quarterback. And then both sides of the ball are kind of a mess as well. You have Jerry Jeudy, but I just think the Patriots is probably the dream scenario, and then the Giants would probably be my second pick.
Yeah, I think Cleveland should take Abdul Carter for sure. If you could put Abdul Carter on the other side of Myles Garrett, they can wreak a lot of havoc.
1,000%.
Yeah, I think that's a move there for sure.
I think Jacksonville will actually not be a bad fit for Travis, say if they want to take him, because they need another receiver to go along Brian Thomas and Parker Washington, and then they have a couple good solid corners, so it wouldn't be bad. But I like what Reid was saying. But we'll see what happens. It's crazy that the draft is only 9 days away already, guys. So
I ultimately think it is going to be the Pats that take him, because it's going to be Cam Ward, we know, and then the Browns should take Abdul Carter unless they try and go for Shedeur, which I don't think Dion would let him play there. He'll pull an Arch Manning, and I think that the Patriots pick 3rd and the Giants are 4th. Or is it the other? No, Giants are 3rd, and I think they'll go Shedeur if Shedeur is there. I think the Giants are going to end up picking him. And I'm kind of set on that. I feel like it's been set in stone since he went to the ceremony in New York for the Heisman.
I don't know. They just signed Russ and Jameis. I can't guarantee that.
Hey, listen, as the guy who just had to endure the Russ experience, let me tell you, that honeymoon phase only lasts for so long.
I just think Shedeur has New York written all over him. He has the personality. He has the joie de vivre. He has the swag of New York that they want, and the media. And he can talk to the media. He's got his dad's way of talking. So I think that's a dream scenario for him. And then then Travis Hunter falls into your lap at 4 for the Pats. I think it would be perfect. I think that would be a great scenario for Travis. Again, I think that's just. Like you said, Raj, I don't think don't try and be the smartest guy in the room. If you're Cleveland, take Abdul Carter. You already signed Myles Garrett. Make that defensive line a wrecking crew and take him. Just don't even hesitate.
Yeah, if I was the Browns, I would just move forward with Kenny Pickett for right now. I'm not saying he's the long-term answer, but this season I would just make him my starter.
And maybe
sign Kirk Cousins. Try to go get Kirk Cousins for him if they can.
Yeah, or keep Will Howard in Ohio. Just bring him from Columbus to Cleveland.
Or just sacrifice a goat and pray that somehow Deshaun Watson kind of returns back to 75% of what he was. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I mean you're already paying him this money. Ride with Deshaun and Kenny and maybe draft Will Howard later. But I would just do the smart move, take Abdul. He's the best player in this draft probably, or at least the best edge rusher in this draft. I would just go after him. Just don't even think twice.
I will give Cleveland credit because the owner did come out and say his bad. He made a mistake on the Deshaun Watson contract. So I will give them credit, and I don't give them credit for anything, but I will say, kudos to them for coming out and just admitting, hey, we made a mistake. It's time to move off. They really can't move off him for another year or two, but kudos to the ownership for realizing they tried to go for a big move and they missed. It happens, but at least you own up to it.
Yeah. Yeah, Adrian, I want to see your Steelers trade up and get Shador. I think that's the best fit for Shador, really, like Pittsburgh. I think
We might lose him. He's got an X on the connection, but I mean, I think that would be good too. But I would wait until see if he falls. If he falls out of that top 5, then I would consider it for the Steelers. But other than that, I mean, they still have a few other holes in other places, as we know. But I think that Shador ultimately, I don't know. For some reason, I feel him going to New York. I don't know why. Yeah, there. Get it back. The draft just is it can go so many different ways, especially in a time like this where like there's no, I mean, other than Cam Ward being like the set in stone guy at 1 and Carter probably 2 or 3, like that 2, 2, 3, 4 is such a weird mix of how many guys can go different places, and even maybe someone tries and trades up to get Abdul Carter. You know, I mean, you could see if the Browns want to. Maybe the Browns trade back with someone and they go after a Jackson Dart or some guy like you said, Will Howard, maybe later on in the draft. I just think, I think Will Howard can redeem himself after his pro day. A lot of people talk about the combine and how players look bad at the combine, but it's so hard throwing. And kids always talk about how hard it is throwing to receivers you never met, you have no chemistry with, which I could see it, So I think that he kind of helped himself on his pro day raise his stock a little bit. Not saying first round, but I could see him maybe getting jumped on late in the 2nd or early 3rd.
Yeah, like 3rd. Take him to 3rd.
I mean, maybe the Browns like Quinn Ewers. Maybe they go after Quinn Ewers. I mean, yeah. He's always been a highly touted prospect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see Quinn Ewers going to like Cleveland or Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, with Dallas, I don't know because Joe Milton's there, so it's a little up in the air, but I could see him being like Seattle, maybe Quinn Ewers going to Seattle. I could see him. I could see him bridging that, or maybe where did Geno go? Geno
to the Raiders.
Raiders, yeah, like maybe the Raiders pick up another quarterback, do a little sit.
They gave Geno a 2-year extension.
Yeah, but I mean they're in the situation where they're going to draft a guy and hope to sit and maybe get a guy later on that they can sit for those 2 years, I'm sure, or a year and a half. When Geno
later rounds for sure.
Yeah, ultimately falls apart. But I just the Raiders are in a weird spot. There's a lot of teams I think that could sneaky take quarterbacks in this. I think that there's the Saints are still up in the air because you don't know if you trust Radler. Derek Carr had a setback on his injury, so they're up in the air. Obviously, Tampa has Baker, but maybe they try to go for a guy for if Baker ever leaves. The Rams need a backup plan to Stafford. I know they just extended him, but they need a backup plan because inevitably he's going to leave. The Jets, I mean, we'll see what happens with Fields, but maybe they're probably a team that will take a guy later on. I would assume at least. There's teams that have set quarterbacks and they always draft a guy just in case. They always have that backup plan. I feel like so.
Break glass in case of emergency.
Exactly.
The NFL is a lot of injuries.
Oh, yeah.
You got to have a competent backup. It could save your season.
For sure.
All right, let's see. Axes, let's go. Yes, sir.
Run it back.
Then he said Steelers ain't about that, Raaj. Talking about my Steelers trading up for Shador. I mean, hey, if he falls, if he ends up sliding, I think they should definitely trade up for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Like, again, it's just it just all depends on how far he falls, like I said. So.
For sure. All right, Adrian saying his Wi-Fi cut out, so as soon as Adrian can get back on here, we'll add him back on. All right, so NBA. So the Pistons back in the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. They were last in I believe that was 2018 when they got swept by the Bucks with Blake Griffin and those guys. So yeah. Okay, hold on.
There he is.
Dang, Wi-Fi got unplugged from the motor. Got unplugged. Somebody knocked it over.
Pops for some reason the Wi-Fi wasn't working for him. He couldn't watch his shows. He had to unplug it and plug it back in.
We almost done anyways. That's the problem. Is just made me mad. I'm like,
we was just talking about Reid's Wi-Fi right before we went live.
Man. You want to ask him the question now that he's back, Raaj?
Yeah. So yeah, the NBA playoffs start this Saturday.
No.
Pistons.
Your Steelers question. I don't think you heard the Steelers question.
I'll go ahead, shoot it.
About them trading up to get Shador?
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
If he falls in between that 10 and 15 range, no, let's say 12 and 15 range, 12 and 17, would you trade up from, what are they, 20? What are the Steelers, 21, something like that?
21. I can't do it. If we had that second round pick this year, maybe, but we don't have a second round pick right now, so we're kind of already a little lost on draft capital. I'm just more so on the fact that I don't think there is a franchise like if we did Cam Ward, yeah, cool, but they're not gonna make the same mistake they made 3 years ago when they drafted Kenny Pickett. I think they're gonna be patient to wait next year and get a guy. They're gonna have to. They're gonna have no choice. But this ain't the year where you need a franchise quarterback if it ain't Cam Ward. And I don't want to see him do it. Just continue to build a team up. I prefer cornerback. Defensive line will be my number one target, my number one priority, and I think this is a deep defensive line class / edge class.
I'll tell you what, if they draft Jackson Dart, I'll have a black and gold jersey coming to my doorstep.
Yeah, I've been back and forth on Jackson Dart. I like him, but not enough to take him at 21. And I also think the Saints are going to get real desperate here right now, especially with the Derek Carr news and the fact that he may not be playing this year. So, but if I was the Saints, I would just pretty much bottom out and kind of reset anyways. But they don't seem to want to do that. If the
Steelers get, you just said corner, if the Steelers get Siobhan Revel or what was the other guy? Azari Thomas from Florida State. I would be a pretty good pick in my opinion. I think Revel's going to be the best cornerback to come out of this draft. I know a lot of people are the Will Johnson and the Travis Hunters of the world. I think he's just going to be. Dude, he's like 6'2", like 210. He's like a wide receiver. He's huge.
Even Trey Amos from Ole Miss. I'm a big fan of like the bigger corners. Pair another big corner with Joey. I think the Steelers. I think the main thing what's going to happen next season. I think they're really going to go back to being a man-to-man defense and stop playing as much zone and be super physical. Almost kind of like the Vikings with Brian Flores, but not blitzing as much. But I think they're going to kind of try to go get back to that form.
Rebel's going to be like that Witherspoon type of cornerback. In my opinion. I think he's going to be exactly like Witherspoon.
Yes, sir. Yeah. If I draft next week, we're definitely ready for that. All right, so yeah, the NBA. So the Pistons back in the playoffs for the first time in 6 years since 2018. First round of the playoffs is this Saturday. Pistons going to the Garden. They are 7-point dogs in this one. So, Adrian, what's your expectations for this Pistons and Knicks series?
Well, I'm gonna throw out a regular season out the door a little bit. The 3-1 record, I mean, is good against them. Cade has averaged over 30 against them this season in the first game Saturday at 6 in the Garden, man. It's gonna be rocking. That's gonna be on ESPN, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. I wonder who's calling that game. I'm real curious about that. But with that being said, everybody and their mother is picking against the Pistons. So which means everybody goes that way. So I go this way. Really, the Pistons are playing with house money. They have nothing to lose. The world is gonna get to see Cade Cunningham in action, and I believe he's gonna show the world who he is. He's going to average 28, 6 and 6 in this series, and lead the Pistons to a series win for the first time in a long time. He's gonna put his name on the big stage again, and people are going to recognize, especially in Madison Square Garden. And I believe Cade should be first team All NBA. And he's going to show, like I said, he's going to show the world. And I have faith in the Pistons. They have Jalen Brunson, but guess what? Karl-Anthony Towns, beef stew's kind of in his head a little bit, especially in that last game last week. You know, Cat loved to do that thing at the wing where he drives and he fades away and he cries about a foul. I think the Pistons are going to have to muddy this game up because the Knicks think they can do this, but the Pistons can too. So I'm rolling with our hometown team, baby. Pistons in 7.
All I got to say is Jalen Brunson, Doc Hudson, Eddie Munson, Pistons of 5.
Yeah.
No, I do think they're going to shock people. I honestly think they're going to surprise people. Like Adrian said, I think Cade's averaging 38 and like 6, 38 and 8 or something like that against them. And he's shooting like 45% from 3 against the Knicks. Everybody keeps saying that, you know, OG and Bridges can lock him down. Neither of them are strong enough to lock down Cade. Neither of them are smart enough to block the way he plays. I think it's going to come down to the Pistons' depth is going to be a lot to handle for the Knicks, because the Knicks obviously play those starting five all season. They play Thibodeau numbers. They're averaging 35 plus minutes a game in the regular season. I think that team just gets tired, and the second line that they have isn't good enough. I mean, you have this team. Asar is great on defense. You have Beef Stew coming off the bench on defense. Duran is great at defense. Ron Holland has shown how good he's been these last couple of games when he's had to step up, especially defensive wise. Malik Beasley, we know what he is. He's been playing lights out. He was top 3 in the league for threes this season. He was number 2 behind Anthony Edwards by 1 3. He has you have Tim Hardaway, who can really turn it on when he needs to, if he can get the ball in the hoop like he's known to do, shooting the threes. Marcus Sasser showed that he's great. So if they need that far in depth, they've shown that he's a great point guard. I just think that their depth is way better than the Knicks, and I think that the Knicks can kind of tire themselves out, because again, they're playing Thibodeau ball, and we all know how Tom Thibodeau likes playing his guys a million minutes a game. So I think the Pistons could definitely. I don't think 5, but I definitely think the Knicks can close it out in 6. I would say the Pistons can close it out in 6. So I'll say the Pistons in 6. I think that they're gonna play this new style of everybody's saying bad boys, but it's kind of a mix of bad boys and the going to work Pistons. You know what I mean? Like that when the way they play, like they do bruise, but they also play like that kind of low scoring game in the regular season when it was with Cade and that full starting lineup. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Pistons and I'm gonna take them in 6.
I love it. By the way, Cade is averaging 30.8, 8.3 assists, shooting 56% against the Knicks.
It's that high. It's that high.
56% from the field. Yeah.
If it is okay from the field, I think his 3% is like 40 something from 43. It is 52%
from
3.
Yeah, from 3.
Wow, way higher than I thought. But yeah, he was playing lights out, and they had that comeback against him too. I just think that they won't have. I think, like Adrian said, this is going to put Cade on the map, and people are going to finally have to start respecting him for the way
First
that he
team
plays.
All NBA. First team All NBA.
Heard it here first.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad these young guys are getting their first playoff experience in the Garden, man. This is gonna help them out so much moving forward.
And you guys imagine what LCA is gonna be looking like next week for Game 3?
Whose house? Cade's house. That's what they're gonna be saying at MSG.
He's been owning it so far. All right, let's see here. Bartholomew says Knicks will sweep.
Okay, Bartholomew. Okay.
I don't see anybody getting swept. Let's see. He says, is OKC the team to beat in the West?
I would have to say yes on paper, but I don't think most of the teams are afraid of them.
Yeah, I like Raj or like Adrian said, I don't think a lot of teams are afraid of them. They're the number 1 team, so I mean, like realistically, yes, they're the team to beat in the West. I just think that if Shea's not getting foul calls, I don't think this team's winning. And I think that refs have been known in the NBA to call less fouls in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. They kind of let the players play. That's one thing I think that's going to benefit the Pistons. And I think that it's going to hurt OKC. Again, we have to watch for the play-in to see who they're going to have to play. But I don't think a lot of teams are as scared of them as people would probably anticipate.
Yeah, I think the experience matters. So the Lakers, unfortunately, I hate to admit it, they have experience with LeBron and Luka. The Warriors, they can get past Memphis tonight, which I believe they find a way to do that, finally win their first play-in game. I'm still having faith, and I know they fired their coach, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I'm still my pick out the West was the Denver Nuggets, and I'm still going to roll with that. So we'll see. They got a tough matchup with this Clippers team, who is, my goodness, has been playing lights out.
Right now.
Yeah, that's like that's my biggest, like, I'm gonna be gutted for whatever team loses that, because I love Jokic and Kawhi Leonard's like my top 5, top 6 favorite players of all time.
Yeah, I have Nuggets in 7, guys. Sorry, I know I'm going against the grain. Most people are picking the Clippers.
Who do you got in the finals, Adrian?
I got the Nuggets versus the Celtics, and Celtics winning 6. They're back-to-back champs.
Okay.
No, I don't think any
What
team
about
in the league can handle just the depth they have and just now that they have experience and they have confidence. I don't see anybody beating them. But I will say I think Cleveland can take them to the brink in the Eastern Conference Finals.
The Pistons kind of remind me of like a young Celtics team in the sense of like, I mean, obviously they don't have Ivy right now, but you would have Cade, who's kind of like Tatum. You have Ivy, who can be like your Jalen Brunson. Obviously Duran's better than Al Horford, but I mean Porzingis starts at the 5, but he's a different type of player. But I think that Duran, like overall as center, and Beef Stew as a backup center, I think he's better defensively than Al Horford. So I think that team's reminds me a lot of like a younger Boston team. But I agree with Adrian. I think that it is going to. I think the Nuggets, will probably come out of the West if I had to take. I think their biggest hurdle is playing this Clippers team.
Yeah, I agree. It's all going to come down to matchup. So I try to tell people, even though the seeding, especially in the West, doesn't really matter. I think, like I said, it's going to come down to who matches up well with who. Like the Lakers don't want to play. They don't want to play Denver because they don't match up well with the size of Denver. But I would have loved to see LeBron versus Steph in that first round. That would have been a nice thing to see. But we'll see. But like my picks for the night are the Warriors over the Grizzlies. And then obviously I know they're winning right now, but I did pick the Magic over the Hawks right now. Trae Young needs to get up out of Atlanta, but we can save that. We can talk about that at a different time. But
who do the Lakers play first?
They are playing Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So Reid, who you liking that Grizzlies and Warriors game tonight? Golden State, 7-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going Golden State. I would like to see the Grizzlies win. I'm gonna say the Grizzlies. I just think with a young team, I think that they could probably just outbattle them. But I mean, they definitely have a case. I don't know. I've had a complete 180 on Jimmy Butler. He's played great. Don't get me wrong. I think they're like I think by the time they got him, they were like 20. They were like 20-2 or something, like 20-3 with Jimmy Butler win-loss. So he's definitely been a help to the team. I don't know. I feel like they're going to crumble in the playoffs and they're not going to be able to play as well. So I think I'm going to take the Grizzlies tonight.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so yeah, the Tigers playing tonight. Tigers on top of the division right now in the AL Central. You got the best record. Still super early though. But where you at with this Tigers team right now?
Yeah, they're currently down 3-0. But I mean, you're not expected to win and sweep everybody in a series. So I mean, I'm not like super upset about it. I like this Tigers team. I think that Colt Keith is not playing up to snuff like I wanted him to. Torkelson's turned it around. I think these 5 starting pitchers they have right now are probably top 5 to 8 in all rotations of Major League Baseball, maybe top 3 you could say. I mean, they've been playing well. Mize got really unlucky the last time he pitched with a few good hits, and 2 of them went out. So it happened to be the way that it played out. But I think this Tigers team is shocking everybody. Everybody thought this team was going to be bad with no third baseman. I think AJ Hinch is kind of showing that he is back to being that mastermind that he was at Houston. Admits that cheating scandal that happened. But he's showing you how much he can move these guys around and really, 2 of these guys that he has with the injury of Parker Meadows. I think Riley Green, is he even playing tonight? I didn't even really look, but he didn't play yesterday. Kerry Carpenter hasn't really played outfield a whole lot. It's been more Kreidler and McKinstry.
Yeah, Riley's playing tonight. He's batting 3rd. He's over 2 right now, though. So.
Okay. I mean, Javi, I think, has looked great at 3. What'd you say, Raj?
No, I just said Riley's been in the slump.
Yeah. Riley's been in a real slump. Torque, I mean, I never gave up faith on Torque. I may have talked bad about him last year, but I never really gave up full faith because I think I just like Torque so much because he's the first guy that I watched the Tigers actually draft with the first overall pick, so I kind of had a connection to him. But he's played great this season. Kerry Carpenter's played great. I think this team just all around is very good. If the bats are hitting well, like they were yesterday, I mean, they scored 9 runs yesterday, and they were just shelling Milwaukee. So I think this team is good, and they play in a very, very bad division, as we know. So I definitely think that they can make a playoff spot for sure. I definitely think they could win a playoff series or 2. World Series, I mean, if they continue to play the way they're playing, I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. I think they have the 5th best record in the MLB right now. So I think I have high hopes for this Tigers team. I think that they can win 90 games.
And Alex Cobb and Parker Meadows haven't even played yet, so they're only going to get better when those guys come back.
Like I said, the depth is there for the team right now, and they don't have last year they had your guy Raj Maeda was in the starting lineup for pitching, so now he's not. Now he plays. Now he's kind of a reliever guy, and he's pitching okay, being a reliever. So, like I said, depth's there when you get guys back healthy. You got Gleyber Torres, who played great yesterday. He's finally back healthy. So, I mean, as long as you get these guys healthy and your team is playing and they're cohesive, it seems like all these Tigers teams, just for some reason, they're buying into whatever this situation is that these coaches are putting out, and they're all just like playing together. And I think that's the most important thing for all these teams. And the Tigers are the next team to do it. The Pistons just showed you they did it. And now hopefully the Red Wings can figure something out and do it. But, all these Detroit teams just have this – it seems to tail along with it, just this grit type of playing, which, people maybe are tired of hearing it, but they're all kind of gritty teams.
I think they're off to a good start. I mean, the Tigers are getting no hit right now currently in Milwaukee, but like you said, Reid said they can't win them all. Like I said, I would like to see Riley Green pick it up a little bit, get some confidence. He hasn't been playing well this season. Maybe they benched him yesterday so he could kind of get his head on straight and figure it out. And it is crazy that I know people have been knocking Javi, but he's batting 289. He's played decently. I'm not going to say he's played great, but he's played decently. So that's a good sign. So you get Parker Meadows back and Alex Cobb back, add to that pitching staff who's been elite. So I think they're on the way. Like you said, they're in a division it's not great. It's a bad division. So I think it's theirs to win. They just got to figure it out as they go along. And I think so far so good. They're off to a good start, and they can make some noise in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But we're at this 17 game of the season. So far so good. So just keep playing well. I love what I'm seeing from Torque. It looks like he's just been reinvigorated, and he's off to a phenomenal start. Hopefully he can keep it up. And like I said, hopefully Coach Keith can get his act together because he's been playing like complete trash. So we'll see. We got
He's been horrible defensively too. He's made
that's what I'm saying. You can't have him playing
this
there.
year. He's been so bad.
So, but I say it's a long season.
His own head.
Yeah, it's a long season, I think. But like I said, I think they have enough time because the division's so bad they can figure this out as they go along. Besides, because Cleveland's only gonna be team that really gives them competition. The Royals are just gonna be the Royals. They'll be good here and there, and then the White Sox are just horrendous right now. So, but like I said, so far so good with the Tigers.
Let's see, Bartholomew said, "Where's Akil Baddoo been at?"
That guy's never going to sniff this roster again with the way with what they have now. He's AAA still, AAA ball. I mean, they'll call him up if they really need him, but he's not. He's never going to see this roster again.
Yeah, they got too much depth. Too much depth now. So
yeah,
not a problem. That's a good problem to have.
Exactly. He's a sign of an old cause.
For sure. All right, cool. Well, there it is. So yeah, some playing games tomorrow. So Adrian, you got the Heat and Bulls tomorrow, and the Mavericks and the Kings tomorrow in the play-in. So what's your prediction for those games, Adrian?
I have the Bulls winning at home against the Heat. I think the Heat are just ready for the season to be over and just reset with the whole Jimmy saga. Tyler Hero's had a great year though, and then can't trust the Sacramento Kings as much as I love Sabonis, Reed's boy. Can't take the Kings. I'm going with Dallas. Anthony Davis is going to have a monster game. Klay Thompson is going to have about 5-6 threes, and the Mavericks are going to win.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Anthony Davis is still there, so you got to watch for him. But I just think the rest of the team – I mean, is P.J. Washington healthy? He's a guy that can give you some problems. They have one other guy whose name I can't remember.
Najee Marshall.
Yeah. Najee Marshall. I had him in fantasy. I picked him up in fantasy, but he's been okay. But, I mean, I don't know. You could get one of those games where Zach LaVine every game. I should watch him. I should bet on him and watch him, and then Zach LaVine will score 45 points and make 7 threes like he does every time I watch him. So I just think with Sabonis has Anthony Davis's number. He always seems to beat Anthony Davis whenever they play. His record against him, I think, is like 8-2 or something crazy like that. And yeah, I mean Zach LaVine and DeRozan are both guys that you got to account for as well. So I think talent-wise, they are older. I still think Sacramento is a little bit better team. Both those guys have had playoff experience, so I think relying on Anthony Davis with no Kyrie is kind of a tall task for Mavericks. So I'm going to go with Sacramento. And I also think the whole Luka thing is just going to kind of like play into this whole scenario leading up to it, and it just kind of shocked this team. That Bulls one is a little bit harder to predict because the
Bulls
Bulls
-1.5.
wow, dude, the Bulls have been playing well.
Josh Giddey.
Yeah, the Bulls have been playing well, but Josh Giddey. But I think that man, I don't know. I want to say the Heat just because Bam and Tyler Hero and Hawkins has been playing okay. That one's harder to predict.
Yeah,
I'll go.
It's a toss-up.
Yeah, I'll go Heat. I'll go Heat in that one just because I think Bam and Tyler Hero are probably the better talent on the team than the Bulls have. So I'll go Heat in that game.
That game is in Chicago.
That's why I'm picking the Bulls. That's why I'm picking the Bulls.
I like the Kings. I like the Kings. If Levine and DeRozan click and Sabonis are clicking on all cylinders, they could do damage as we seen them do with the Pistons in that game a week or 10 days ago.
Hopefully the Kings get dominated so Sabonis can ask for a trade and maybe come to Detroit basketball.
Yeah, I'm here for that. I'm here for that for sure. All right, cool. Well, yeah, there it is. That's all I had. Anything else you want to add before we get up out of here?
Last thing I'll add, I know it didn't matter much, but my guy Bobby scored I think 15 points when he came in and played for the Pistons in that game when they had all those G Leaguers up. So he looked promising. He actually looked pretty good playing where he was at. I think if he can get another solid G League season in, you might be able to see him come up, and if they don't get a Cam Johnson or someone at the 4, they could potentially see where he's at next season. I liked his game. I liked the way he looked in the pros. Granted, it was against a Milwaukee team that had full strength, but I like the way he looked.
Yeah, let's get it. We'll draft is next week. We'll be in draft week, and the Pistons will have at least a couple games down, so we'll have a lot to talk about next week. So
we'll have to talk about getting together for that first round, boys. We'll have to talk about getting together for the first round for the draft.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. All right, well, yeah, there it is. Sports update. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all like the video, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.